nobody has any question? Well, we'll move on. You guys understood the navigation scheme and everything, the site navigation? Okay. It's not fancy, but what about this one, touchscreen?
So can you explain what it is?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you explain what touchscreen navigation means here in this context of this requirement?
In this application, basically, what we are saying is, what they are trying to do here.
The touchscreen is
The user has that, like, this one right here, the user has the ability to, on the screen, to use the keyboard instead of using, regular keyboard.
keyboard.
So the pop-up keyboard, basically.
Right,
Yeah.
the pop-up keyboard.
On the touchscreen. So this application is compatible with the touchscreen.
Right.
So that's how it's written. Okay.
You can access through tablet. Yeah. If you're using an iPad. Like that. This is
Without keyboard,
And what does that mean to you as a tester?
We need to test it.
You need
You need to have a
make sure.
touchscreen also in order to test it.
So you need to make sure that the functionality, whether you use touchscreen or the keyboard, are exact same,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Anything that you click on it or
Type it
All
from
the
that.
key
type
should
it
be
or
the
whatever,
same.
should be same.
And second is, remember, when the touchscreen keyboard pops up, there are fields underneath, it's not gonna be visible to you. So can you tap through it and can you reach it to those things? That's the kind of things you need to test.
So it's for each and every functionality.
Everywhere where there is a keyboard, keyboard. Because you need to figure it out in every screen, if that touchscreen keyboard is brought up, how are you gonna address it?
And what kind of requirement it is?
Do you know what this is called, when something comes up on touchscreen?
What type of requirement? It's actually non-functional. Because it says you have to
It's
support
device
the
specific.
the device specific thing. So it's a non-functional, nothing to do with the functionality. Functionality works same, whether you access it. Okay. Alright, so let's move on.
Will it work on iPad too?
Any touchscreen device where you bring the application.
It should work, right? Yeah.
It will even work on your normal computer, even if you don't have a touchscreen,
Yeah.
as long as you click on that keyboard, it should bring it up.
The on-screen keyboard. I mean, if your computer is not a touchscreen, but if that application, we log into that application, the touchscreen functionality should work.
So like,
It should pop up.
It should be pop up the keyboard.
so like my computer is a touchscreen, so if I click on it, on that, bring up that app, then it should do the whatever it's supposed to do, because it's a touchscreen. It's not
And what about a normal one?
Well, if you don't have a touchscreen,
Alright.
and remember, like, it's a lot of times when you go see it in the secure site, there is a virtual keyboard that you can click it and bring it up, and then still use your mouse to do that.
Yeah.
If there is a keyboard button shows up, you should be able to click it, bring it to keyboard, and then work on that.
It's the same thing, it's the same kind of keyboard, but
Right. Okay,
The
what does header and footer mean here?
heading and
Or
what is header?
Somebody from the back, what were you guys saying?
nothing, we are explaining the header concept.
Yeah, but what it means, what we are asking is,
Why don't you guys come over in the front
yeah,
table?
so just come in the front, because nobody's here, just claim your seat, so.
Let's go to 2.6.
2.6, okay. Column headers.
What does this particular paragraph mean? Can anybody explain it to me?
So in all the options, we get a multi-column option, I mean, multiple options under that heading, and we can browse through any of those options.
That's completely wrong, so,
What does it say?
somebody else, wanna
This
take
one
a stab
right
at it?
here, it's actually, giving us the header that you can at least, sort, like,
Sorting
Excel will
functionality.
give you, the sort,
Right,
attribute or
based on,
capability.
so if I click on this accounting code,
It should
it
sort.
will
Sorry.
rearrange all the
Sorry.
rows into that,
So
right, and it's across all, right, and then whenever I have this buttons, when I click it, it allows me to update that particular
Right.
row, record.
And if you click it twice, it goes into descending order.
And continues to keep.
It's either the ascending or descending.
Ascending or
So
descending.
if it's not sorted, then it's gonna sort it ascending,
Yeah.
descending.
All order.
If you take that as a primary and put it in all.
But from the testing perspective, I mean, what it means for you, you have to analyze this one, because this is the only place it says in the whole document that this functionality needs to be implemented. Now,
What it means is, throughout the document, wherever is table is displayed as part of your screen,
Everything should.
all of this testing you need to do it to make sure
right,
each and every table works the way this is talked about.
just because they don't wanna repeat it, they just put it in the top, okay, these are some of the common functionalities that you should be testing through.
What is called is essentially a global behavior of application.
That is common, I mean. And now you can see, I mean, you can easily write probably 50 or 100 test cases, I mean, just from these table structures. I mean, if you look at all the tables.
You have your recorder on, right? Your video recorder?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this 2.7 to whatever, 2.10, actually 2.7 to 8, I guess. Let's talk about 7, see what you can do.
Any questions on that?
Click on the date look of field, that should display the month and year and date, and you can click, either you can pick up from the
Calendar.
calendar that is populated, or you can enter it manually, type it.
I mean, once you click on the three dots, then you have that capability of,
Yes.
choosing the calendar.
But
Right.
again, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's anywhere the date is there, it should support
It should,
this
yeah.
thing. So they're not gonna tell you each and every place.
We need to just
What is
So
also the other thing, what does this also tells you from the date point of view?
The current date.
Not only just format, what does it talk about? Is that, can I go in past? Can I select the date in the past?
Yeah.
Am I restricted?
No.
No, you can.
just say load
And there's no arrow going
No, because there is an arrow
either
to
this side
go
or that
in the
side,
previous
you can't,
Well,
there's
there,
nothing.
there are arrows right
There
there.
are
on the
arrows
top.
of the date from the
There is an
calendar.
arrow.
Oh, right.
To the previous
So that
date.
means you can go forward or
I think
back.
this is
Why
very
not?
we use in many applications.
But now you have to test it, so you have to test
Well,
each and every combination.
You got to realize that this allows it back and forth.
Right.
You may have a business logic rules defined within the table, which tells it that I can select only moving forward the
Right.
dates.
And if it's going back, then how much and how fast?
So what it means is, it's not only whether I can go and select a date in the past or not, but if somebody selects the date which is in the past, and rule says that it needs to be today or forward,
Yeah.
is the application telling you that thing or not?
I think it's there somewhere probably.
Yeah, the
listed.
date feature is there.
Date feature and that's it. That you can't enter the past.
Right.
What when we generate reports, we need to give the
I
start
did.
date and end date.
Cycle.
Right, again, what this one is says that you have a capability to define the dates either by putting the directly MMDDYY, or if you choose it, you can select it, calendar needs to pop up, and you can select the date based on that. Okay. So that's the keyword, right? So this is the masking data type of thing rules. And then you will also have an additional rules within the table which talks about what are the valid values you can enter in those things.
Alright. So 2.9.
Yeah.
So do you guys understand the term? I mean, nobody is asking questions, so I mean, we assume everybody understand the term, 2.9. So what it means for you, I mean, when we say client-side validation?
So,
Did anybody understood?
I mean,
what it means?
with the diagram where it has, the server at one point, and you have all, internet access connecting to the server
Right,
for every client, basically, that's how I understood that. Once you have internet,
uh-huh,
you can access, the data from the data source or
okay,
wherever it is located.
see if I can put it.
It should be restricted, it should be pop up some error message if it has any field is wrong.
I mean, but why it's only client-side versus server-side?
What is the difference? Harshal is asking, what is the difference between client-side validation versus server-side validation?
Client-side is based on client's specification.
No, when you say client specification, what exactly are you talking about? Me as a client specifying what the rules should be?
So like if I type it in something here, right, it just shows basically whatever matching stuff is.
Yes, it
That's-
is pop up some error message.
So the key term is, when we talked about the client-server architecture, right? We talked about the server where your application validation
Yeah.
happens. What this particular requirement tells you, that whenever possible, instead of making a trip all the way to the server, I will validate here on the client side itself. So for example, if somebody enters a wrong date, it will not even make a trip to the server.
Yeah.
It will check within your client, which just means your browser. And if it's, doesn't pass that validation, it will just tell you right there that you need to fix this issue before going into the server.
So you can tell from flickering, I mean, the page being refreshed and everything. So that's basically hitting the server. Whatever you click on it, it goes to the server, gets a new page and it gets displayed. But if you go to any dealer management or anything, I think it's, I'm just trying to find where the client side is, here in the app. But whatever you see here, it's executing on the client. So like it's pulling up without flickering.
Yeah.
So that happens on the client itself. So those type of things, like if you tab out and click on search, maybe it should get you error message right there, hey, we entered something, instead of you click on the button and then tell me. So that's the difference, I mean, it happens like that, without flickering of the page.
And what it means is that later in the requirements document, wherever you were saying that required is true, it should be checked on the client side,
Yes.
did user entered any information there or not? If not, it should not even try to make it a trip to the server. And as a tester, you should validate that is the requirement has been enforced on the client side or not.
The whole reason is that because it's a touchscreen app, I mean, they don't wanna wait till like page comes up, I mean, every click you're gonna make, it's gonna flicker, I mean, then it's not a good design for the page. Alright, the masking side of things, you guys understood that part, the masking? So, let's talk only one thing, okay?
Start number 4.
Number 4, okay, 12-digit numbers. So what it means for you as a tester, I mean, as a QA person looking at this type of thing?
That basically, for phone numbers, if you type more than 12, it's gonna, give you an error.
Okay?
But 24 shows a country.
But it says that it's 7, 10 or 12 digits.
Right, but you say number 4.
No, I'm just saying, what do you understand when you look at number 4?
It's a country
Like
code,
and
then
10-digit number, and then the number.
So you are applying the format of 12 digits. So if it lies between 11, it will not accept it.
And what is the other rule?
The other
with
rule
the
is
area
if you-
code and the number, without area code.
numbers.
And,
It has to be numbers,
Has
right?
to be
That's
numbers,
the one
so
thing.
that's the second rule.
yeah.
What is the third rule?
So can I enter 5? Will it take it?
No.
No.
Right? So that's a negative test case, is that you can easily write. I mean, And I don't know how many places this is getting displayed, so.
Also, if it's a 12-digit, you're expecting it might implement the mask of 2 digits, followed by 3 digits, followed by 3 digits, followed by 4 digits.
But that is automatic, I don't have to.
Where is automatic?
So on the screen,
If you
what
put it
you
in
gonna see on the
application,
screen?
right?
What does the screen say? Does it tell you the format? It doesn't tell you the format on the screen. It's just a field, right? It's a one field, and you are executing all the rules, different rules.
So as a tester, you need to test it.
Right.
What if you put just 2 digits here, then put a dash, and then put a number, what happens? It's still a 12-digit number.
So there are several variations here. This thing, I mean, you can easily write probably 20 test cases, like 20 ways of testing.
But this format, like in generally most of the applications, it is designed already, we just have to feed the numbers, right?
No, but how do you know it's designed properly?
Wait,
Talking about this
You're
Tell me.
requirement.
What is your role?
As a QA.
Talking
You
specifically
see,
about-
I forgot the first thing you said it, as a tester, you don't trust them.
Feeding number is
She
what if
forgot
I
she
put-
And the application is not made.
Yeah, you are not accounting background anymore, you are like
He's thinking
IT.
of an end user like me.
What is it?
I'm saying she's thinking of an end user, but the same thing I apply to it, just type straight numbers,
Yeah,
just.
but the end user shouldn't be knowing all these things. So it automatically comes, when you develop these things, you as a tester, you're gonna test all the combinations, variations here.
Your job as a tester is to make sure the system performs as per this specification.
All the 4 numbers, anywhere it's 4 numbers,
You apply all the 8 rules.
So in terms, you saying my job is to tell whoever wrote the requirement to add that issue, populate automatically and not put the dashes in because
Why?
people.
No.
You don't
You
know
don't
how
know.
it's implemented, all you're just seeing is a requirement of
That's what I'm saying, after
how
reading
that
it,
should be interpreted. Wait, all it just says how the number needs to be interpreted.
Right.
It's not telling you how it's implemented in the application.
So
Because
you
haven't
don't
seen the
have a say,
application, you
right?
haven't seen the application.
you don't have a say, I mean,
You
this
don't have a
is what
say
they're gonna give you.
to the requirement as a
No.
tester.
Not in the waterfall one.
Well, remember, the business user is the one who's telling you what the requirement.
Yeah. So,
So if you maybe find a mistake or something of that sort.
Then you can ask it.
yeah, you know,
But if the user said, no, this is the way I want it, then this is the way it is.
we not paying for it.
you are working for the
We-
user.
yeah.
So we all work for the business. Yeah, right.
Is there only 8 rules? I thought there were 10.
I think there
Right,
are.
I have a question. Is the business based in United States alone, like the clients and then because it's saying that the zip code should be numbers.
Not
Numeric. It's in a document I have.
Right, no, what I'm saying is that, like it, don't assume unless user specifies it that zip code is by default, it's gonna be number only. It could be an
Canada is not
alphanumeric
number.
number.
Right, and then it's telling me that it's talking about the 50 states.
Okay?
Right, so
I
if
could
it's
still have zip
50
code
states.
9 digit, doesn't have to be 5 digits.
Right, if it's talking about the 50 states, then that means we are not going outside of
Okay.
United States.
So I'll contradict that. If I'm gonna work only about the 50 states, why would I have this rule number 4?
It's a international number.
Yeah, so then there is a this thing between the two. Either we have to I don't know, but this one just brought those things like why if it's the United States, then why we should have like plus the two like the 2 number the area code. Right.
All it just tells is that I can support international customers.
Right. So
So you always
then why
plan
is
for
it
the-
talking about just the 50 states?
No, you always plan for the future. You don't know how big your company gonna grow, whether they're gonna go to China, who knows.
So if I
So
understand.
you build the system for US, you can extend the system to Chinese basically data or whatever. You should be able to accommodate.
So if
Or
I
you may
understand-
have a vendor who might be coming from overseas. You may have a client only here,
Yeah.
but you may have a vendor coming from overseas.
But the document is saying that it should be like the 50 states. Yeah, this thing is.
Well, I'm not saying is that it's not saying that. What I'm just saying is that not necessarily all the requirements indicate that it'll only be used here. You may have users spanning outside the 50 continental states. Because it's telling you clearly you can accept the phone number of 12 digits.
Right.
Alright, but you guys got the idea, right? You can easily write many. Did anyone pick this one? No, I think, okay.
Well, it's depending on the screen.
Yeah, depending on the
Whichever
screen,
the
that's
screen's
correct.
that they go.
So make sure you have certain test cases, I mean, yeah.
Format.
So it's, all it is, you're now getting the
Rules,
gist,
basically.
rules, right? How the document is structured.
We're not gonna go line by line, I mean, we're just getting you the rules. This is how it should be, you should be interpreting, some of those things.
And it defines when, within the requirement, if they say it's an alphanumeric, what does it mean? What is alpha means, what is numeric means?
Yeah.
Can I accept space or? Does it
Only
accept-
follow this specific characters. So A dot dash underscore, and it says space here, so probably shouldn't. But that could be, you can provide for your wise spacing there. I don't see
Generally,
any.
it's not, but here.
And the application owner is very picky.
Even amended only the following specific characters. A dot underscore underscore a dash in the space. Alright, that's
That
it.
means that
That would be the question for that guy, I mean, why he thought there's a space.
All it says, there's a dash and underscore are the two
Yeah,
fields.
probably that's what I think, yeah. It's probably A is an
A's-
A, B, C, D, whatever.
Right, it's the
Yeah.
bullet number.
Yeah.
okay,
Is
but
A is a bullet.
space,
A is a
does
bullet.
it accept space?
No, it should run that.
generally,
So,
yeah.
okay. Alphanumeric, alpha, okay, so let's move on from this one. You guys got the idea on the
Okay.
other one.
Wait, Marshall. Security.
Hmm.
So what did you guys understand about the security of this application?
Depending on the user's role, it should be able to,
So it's a role-based security?
like a desktop user, I mean, data entry user cannot access the admin page.
Where is those rules defined?
It's,
Okay.
and the admin can interact with all other pages of the application.
I don't think anybody picked the security piece, the role list or user list.
They're gonna run into issue as soon as they do the inventory.
Yeah, well, let them test it, see what they understand then.
So what I want you guys to do it, is between now and Saturday if you're coming on Saturday, or now and Sunday if you're not coming on Saturday. Tell me what is the difference in security between the R phone and this application?
Dilip.
Somebody's there. Okay. So tell me the difference, what is the difference between the way the security was structured in our phone document and the security structure in this particular application?
So we're gonna get a chance to test this.
Everything in application is integrated with the security. So as soon as you hit the first thing, you're gonna run into security.
Which application should we use to test this?
Well, you will get an application on Sunday to test it.
But you said between now and Sunday, that's what.
Read the document. Requirements are the one which is define how the security is implemented, not the other way around. Right? So this document should always tell you how the security needs to be implemented. You should never rely on how the user has, how the developer has implemented security. Right? That's always a reactive measure. Right? What I'm asking it is a proactively, based on how this talks about security, versus how the R-Flown application talked about security,
Okay.
right? Tell me the difference. So any questions moving into the overall process flow? Do you understand the general structure of this? How this table is maps to the particular page? Do you understand how this particular screenshot maps to the page element, business rules, and events? Okay, so everybody's clear on that, right?
Home page history page at 25 says at 25. But the next page it says at 26. What is the difference? So there are two home page history page.
That is for one admin and then.
So you have to look into it, is that F25 function, and what is that function?
So you have to go down to
For
F25.
one for admin and one for home page. Right?
There's a
It's
admin
the
code.
warranty something.
Yeah,
Warranty
it
processing
says
is-
F25 warranty
I
processing.
think it's a
errors.
typing error.
Other one says F25 home page. It should also
It should be F26.
Yeah. Yeah, so this should be F26.
Yeah.
So what all this thing is tells you, right, is whenever there is a description which says that what you need to do, it tells you how you're gonna navigate from one function to another function, right? So this is a functional navigation map that you need to build it, reading through the requirement. Remember I was talking about draw the pictures?
Yeah. We figured out.
That's what you got to do. And it talks about whenever a particular button is clicked, what events gets fired, right, and how it navigates through it. Then there are business rules associated. So this one history page is a little bit simpler, right? But if you look into one of these pages, right?
Yeah.
So it talks about the element one is the vendor customer lookup, right? So this is the one. It tells you what
Which is
the type is, right? Whether it's required or not, if it's limited by specific size, is it applied any of the masks? So if you remember the global things we talked about, phone number, date, and all those things, right? And what is gonna be default value? That means when screen first is displayed to you, whether it's gonna have it, or if you don't enter anything and you save it, then does it take some value by default? Now, there are a couple of, so you can just see it, how each one, depending on what button you click it goes to different functions.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
If we click the done button,
Which page?
as in page 18, here.
Okay.
So it says it will save the current data. So for verification where we can see that data is saved or
So
not.
let's look into it. Right, so when you click done, right, that means user just wants to save the data, right? So all this information from here needs to go there, the vendor customer there. So when you look at it, this is the receiving, right? So when you do a shipping, an inventory, when you pick up that particular purchase order number, you should see those kind of things change, saved it in the system.
But purchase order number
It's
is
not
not
required.
compulsory, it's not a compulsory field.
Okay, so let's read through the description.
Filtering field.
Because it's.
Right, so-
No, it's not, you can skip PO number.
So it's EOA. So when I done button on a click, it takes me, saves the data on the page of the system, and then navigates users to the home page. Okay, so you should go to the home page. Now, somewhere in the document, it will also be a reference of all those information, right? So if you look into the whole process, right, so this one is essentially your receipt, right? So when you go into the master process, right, so if you look at it, right, once you receive it, at some point, you're gonna execute either the inventory or warranty process, right? So the data that you saved it into the receiving, right,
We can see.
it needs to go into one of these processes you go in. So when you look at the detail of that, it'll ask you to pull up the information based on that. So that's when you know it, right? So you need to, that's why it's important to read through the entire document, right? And it says, hey, when I click on done on that, data is saved, can I go to the home page, right? And if I want to verify it from the screen point of view, whether data is actually saved or not, then I need to go into one of those functions and try to pull it up and says, does it show me that an entry for me to process the warranty, right? So think about this, right? I get a shipment, my front door person, receiver, just takes that information, enters into the system, and puts it somewhere that you need to do it, right? Then inventory guy picks up and says, okay, I have received all these things, I need to catalog those, so that I have all those things now. Some of them are eligible for warranty, so I need to pick it up those things and process the warranty, right? So I will not be able to do any one of this if that thing is successfully saved, right? So that's where you need to look through it and says, okay, which of the screens I can just pull it up with that information shows me that it's saved successfully. Any other questions on the first 20 pages? So if you look at it, right, in every screen there is a keyboard.
Yes. The shipment,
Complete?
lookup field. So the receiving page will,
Yeah, so the one that you entered it in the receiving, right,
yeah,
you can come into the shipment and pull it up. The lookup field, if you click it, the entry that you entered it in the shipment should show up.
so is it in cartridge inventory or ship warranty?
This
That would be
is-
part of here in the show pictures.
Okay. So
This is inventory.
So this shipment, none will pop up the information that we stored in receiving page?
No, when you click on this, right, the
Okay.
original shipment number that you entered into the receiving should show up, right? And then you should be able to select it, because this is a lookup.
Yeah, so you can go.
So
So you
what is the
can't manually
difference,
enter
oh,
it.
sorry, what is the difference between inventory and receiving?
So think about it, right? I ordered something, if I'm a corporation, right, I ordered something. It's gonna come in my front door, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna first track it, did I receive it or not? Right? So the person who is at the front door accepting those package, enter in the system and said, hey, I received this package with this ID. And it's a case or a skid or it's a box. Okay? And then I put it in processing, right? That somebody in my back office then takes all those packages and says, okay, I'm gonna just record it, what all we received. They're gonna enter it, right?
Right.
Into the system. So that's my inventory. Now once I receive it in inventory, right, this is the cartridge reach manufacturer business, right? So they're gonna say, hey, did I receive a cartridge back from a customer which talks about still eligible from the original vendor, from warranty? Then I can actually process that for warranty and get a replacement from the company.
So what about, let's say, if you receive it, then why do somebody have to enter it again in the inventory?
you go into any big warehouse type of operation, right? Let's take an example. You go grocery
Yeah.
for Meyer or Kroger, right? You see that huge truck comes in,
Right.
right? Do you see the same guy taking it out from the truck, actually going it to the aisle and racking it? No, right? Why?
He doesn't work for the store. He's just,
No, there are multiple reasons, right? You don't go and just try to put everything that you received on the shelf.
has to be received.
You need to first figure it out how much I received it in the store. Right? And then there is a backstage area where you process all those things before actually taking as what you needed only in the front and then display it in the store.
Right. What I mean is, if the receiver not putting all the information into the system.
The receiver is putting in the system just, I received this shipment number, and it's a box, a skid, or a case.
It's basically checks and balances.
That's checks and balances.
Right.
So all it just does it, what all shipment I received it, right? And then there will be a specific group which will go and do the processing. Because not every person is trained or skilled to do all the tasks across the entire warehouse. Right? So I will have a shippers, I will have receivers, I'll have people who just do nothing but inventory, and then I'll have a people who actually does nothing but process warrant. Right? And I may have a customer facing people who just does nothing but pick up the phone call and address any customer issues. Can we have only one conversation when we are having it? That really helps it.
Sorry.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So that's why you have the various business operations, right? So that's why the business process flows that comes in play. Right? Even within this, look at that, how complex the flows are. Right? You're not going to try to train each and every workforce resource in all those complexities. And yes, you can do it if it's only a small, I receive only 5 shipments a day. If I receive 2,000 shipments a day. Right, if the same person tries to do everything, then that person will be a bottleneck for your business. Any other questions in the first 21, please? How about next 10 pages? Tell me the page number.
22.
This shipment is,
So look up.
yeah, but it says, this is associated with entry through the receiving page.
Right.
And
So remember, go back to
page
the,
32.
go back to the shipment, receiving, right? And see, is there a way for you to enter the shipment number there?
That's a shipping or tracking number. But this one,
Ship-
page 32, it says, clicking on the lookup button for the shipment lookup field opens the touchscreen selection list populated with an alphanumeric listing of shipments.
That have been received. Right, so if I receive it like 10 shipments, like my inventory guy is gonna process one at a time. So which one I need to process? So there's a shipment number.
Yeah.
So you will click on that, it'll show up everything that I received it. From there, I'll select, oh, this, I'm processing this one.
Yeah.
So
And then
that
go for it.
alphanumeric number is auto-generated by the system when we
No.
say record?
No.
Here
Look
it
at what is
says
the rule
scan
for
barcode.
the shipment number into the FO2.
Yeah, it says scan barcode and or enter shipping tracking number. The one
Shipping
you
and tracking
receive.
number is one and the same thing, I
Right.
think. It's, yeah,
I
so
think
the
it is
tracking
already
number.
given on the package.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on the
that's what
package,
we're
it's on the
saying.
package.
If
So
you see the
either we
package,
can scan it
It
or
will have
scan
the-
or tag. Yeah.
Yeah.
That shipment tracking number is the same as
Did you look
shipment.
into that, what is defined as that?
This is, this one.
The photo is there.
Page 16 is I think.
It says text, but is that the same that's being focused in the shipment lookup field?
That's what
Do
it
we
tells
have
us.
this document in Word? This is PDF, right?
So,
Very difficult to navigate.
Can you open the?
why, there is a page number up here, you can do a control F, it's exact same as Word, you can do
When I
exactly.
did control F, it was looking for something only on that page.
That is word, right? That's it.
Yeah,
You're using words or.
Then you can use this one
You have
to
to see the
text.
word.
but he's saying.
Look, if I do a control F, what's that? That the previous and next allows me to search through the whole document. So if you look into this, right, shipping and tracking number,
Can you put page 15? Yeah, so here it says, that, number 4, scan barcode or enter shipping tracking number.
right, so what's gonna happen, right? So if you get into a shipment from Amazon, it has a
You have the
barcode
tracking.
and it has actual number underneath it. So I thought what's saying is that if you're a scanner, you just scan it,
Scan.
so it'll automatically populate whatever is that number into there. Or if you're not able to scan, because a lot of times when you get a shipment, right, the barcode is a lot of times damaged.
Screwed up here.
Yeah.
So you go pick it up, the tracking slip, and then enter the shipping number manually, right? And what is the shipment tracking number? If you look into it, it's a text field. So it's an alphanumeric.
Right.
If I go back into the definition, all text is
So you
alphanumeric.
can-
So I enter whatever that. And that's what gets pulled it up, right? Because it talks about pulling out alphanumeric field when you look into that page 34, right? 32, right? So it talks about shipment lookup, alphanumeric listing of shipment that has been received. So whatever I enter there, if I come in here, if it shows up, then I know that my data is saved.
Yeah.
If it doesn't show up, then the data is not saved.
So that's how we verify.
Yeah. Again, that's why it's important, right? Again, I'll stress it, and this is, you're gonna find it time after time throughout your career. Because things are gonna be described like this. You have to take it, draw a picture, mentally or physically, right? So that when things comes in, you can quickly refer it, what does it mean? Where it goes. And trust me, this is nowhere complex document. So here are all of formulas given, right? How you define